Happy New Year of the Snake. We hope everyone's enjoying the festive season of auspicious foods, firecrackers, of course, and, oh, my favorite, that endless loop of Gongxi Ni, Gongxi. Red envelopes hopefully will be coming your way. When you're John and I's age, you have to give them rather than get them, so not as cool. But anyway, we're putting this episode out on the second day of the Lunar New Year, or as John likes to call it, Chinese New Year. Please direct all hate mail to John Ross regarding Chinese New Year. Second day, married daughters return, unfortunately with their husbands, to their parents' home. And speaking of fun, here's a fun question for you. John, what do the following people have in common? Okay, now this is going to be tough. Bob Dylan, Taylor Swift, you've heard of her, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, I'm not that old.
And Daniel Radcliffe. Stay tuned for the bombshell answer.
The Taiwan History Podcast, Formosa Files, is made possible through the generous sponsorship of the Frank C. Chen Foundation. Formosa Files.
Okay, so to repeat the question, Bob Dylan, Taylor Swift, J.K. Rowling, and Daniel Radcliffe, what do they have in common? John, have your decades of pop culture consumption prepared you for this intensive challenge?
Well, seeing as we're doing a snake-flavored episode, too obvious that they were all born in the year of the snake. So I'll assume all these people are on record as having eaten snake meat. Perhaps kept a snake as a pet, or they've been bitten by a snake, or for some Taiwan flavor, maybe they've all visited Snake Alley in Taipei.
Snake Alley, pet snakes, eating snakes. You're very creative, I'll give you that. But you know me, I'm a simple-minded man. All of those people are snakes. Simple. They were all born in the year of the snake.
Oh, too obvious. And I must say, it doesn't sound nice calling people snakes.
Yeah, that's a Western thing, though. Checking the dictionary here, Merriam-Webster, the entry for snake, legless reptile, we know that. But then entry 2 is a worthless or treacherous fellow.
But in Chinese, it's not such a damning assessment. A snake has some positive qualities.
And it was good enough to get into the dozen animals of the 12-year cycle. Think of the animals that missed out. I mean, the panda. There's no year of the panda. The Asian black bear didn't get in there. Deer. And, this is just my personal one. I think the cockroach deserves a year. It's a survivor, man.
Ooh, no thanks. No.
Yeah, I know. It's only me.
So the 12 animals which did make it onto the list are, in order, the rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster, dog, and pig.
Each animal is believed to impart certain traits to those born in its year. So people born in a snake year are thought to be wise, graceful, but they can also be secretive or overly cautious. My favorite snake, by the way, John, did you watch Jungle Book, the cartoon by Disney growing up?
Yes, that's a long time ago, though.
Yeah, that's my favorite snake voice of all time. Trust in me. Great voice acting.
Okay, moving on. We've got 12 animals, 12 years, but it's actually a 60-year cycle. 12 animals multiplied by 5 elements. 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water.
Right. So it's kind of special when you get to your 60th birthday, right? You've made it through the cycle. And this coming new year is a wood snake year.
Yes, I'm an earth monkey. And from memory, you hit the jackpot by being born a dragon, a fire dragon.
Correct.
So snakes are, according to the internet, or was it you telling me, ambitious, charismatic, and passionate?
I love taking a Western zodiac thing and reading it to someone and telling them it's their sign and then having them go, oh yeah, that was just and then telling them, I was reading you Sagittarius, not Capricorn. So again, it seems to me like, you can attribute anyway. So here's a random website. Snakes are known for their calm demeanor, resourcefulness, and ability to analyze situations before taking action, while also being very strong-willed. Classic snake traits include being curious, they're fascinated by how the world works, Snakes are observant, notice everything, charming. People can't help but be drawn to snakes. I'm not drawn to snakes, strangely, in the real world. My daughter loves them. Anyway, quiet charisma that makes others feel at ease, and they are alluring and mysterious. And incidentally, if you wanted to know, and you're a snake, your lucky numbers are 2, 8, 9. Unlucky numbers 1, 6, 7. Lucky colors, black, red, yellow. Lucky flowers, orchids, cactus flowers.
Enough.
Lucky season, spring.
Oh, that was written by a legless snake, that was. Anyway, most listeners will know that dragon years are auspicious, and there is an increased number of births, which actually seems unlucky. I mean, getting born with more future competitors, more students in your class, more classmates trying to get places in schools and universities, more graduates looking for jobs.
I hadn't thought of that. Good point. This year, however, 2024 was a dragon year, and we did not have a baby bump in Taiwan. Young people don't want to have kids, and I guess I kind of know why. But anyway, there's this general perception that dragon kids are blessed or lucky, or so parents in the past at least have sort of put more resources into them or paid for better schooling. And these are old stereotypes, but I don't know how many people in Taiwan these days still take this all that seriously.
Yeah, I think this is largely in the past tense. But, another benefit, though this is in days gone by, not now, military service. Because there were so many young men, they might not all be conscripted for military service, or their service might be shorter.
Okay. Now everyone after the year 2005 has to do one solid year, so laws have changed. Of the 12 animals of the Chinese zodiac, the dragon is really the only imaginary creature, yeah? And I'm sure you've heard this used as proof that the Chinese dragon was a real creature. Like, how could it not have been if it made it into the zodiac?
Yeah, well, it was considered a real animal centuries ago. And there were occasional sightings that made it into reports. But these were obviously people's imaginations getting to...
Perhaps they were eating certain mushrooms that were inspiring certain visions.
Yeah, maybe the rice had gone bad and...
Something like that, yeah. The dragon, at least the one now, looks like a mythical creature. It's this weird composite animal. In stories and artwork, it's shown kind of having a snake-like body, but with 4 legs and sharp claws.
So you said the dragon has a snake-like body and it's got 4 legs with those claws. And then it's got a strange head. If you look closely, it has horns, but they're a little bit like the antlers of a deer.
Yeah, the Japanese have one, kirin, similar. The origin of the inspiration of this mythical creature is definitely a mystery. Some people have argued dinosaurs, but...
Yeah, snakes, Chinese alligators, or a combination of various animals, some kind of nature worship, or someone's even said thunder. Dragons are associated with clouds, with water, rain.
Okay, cool, but enough talk of dragons. We've just passed from the year of the dragon to the year of the snake. So let's talk snakes, specifically Taiwan snakes. It's a subject, John, you are actually a minor expert in.
Oh, good Lord. Not minor, nothing at all. But yeah, a long time ago, I was working on a book about snakes, an uncompleted book, it must be said, with a real expert, a South African chap called Eryk M. We had some fun photographing various snakes. And we did this with old-fashioned cameras, slide film cameras, not digital.
Photographing snakes sounds mildly tricky. You have any tips for an aspiring snake photographer?
I think it's probably a don't try this at home.
Warning, the following actions, if imitated, could result in death. Do not try this at home.
But if you did, put the snakes in the refrigerator for a short time, because you know what?
They chill out.
Yeah, they're nice and slow once you get them out. You can photograph them, they warm up, and then they head off.
Interesting.
Anyway.
You put snakes in a refrigerator. Whew, okay. How many snake species are there in Taiwan anyway?
About 50 if we include sea snakes. But let's focus on 5 of the most common and important venomous ones.
Venomous, so that would mean they have poison, potentially deadly?
Yes, that's right. So we've got the brown spotted pit viper, usually called the Taiwan habu. And we have the Chinese green tree viper, also called the bamboo viper. And we have the 100 pacer, another viper.
And it's called the 100 pacer because that's supposedly how far you can pace until you die, which is a myth, right?
Correct, yes. The other snakes worth mentioning, the Chinese cobra and the many-banded crate.
So which one is the most venomous in Taiwan?
Sea snakes, but they're not aggressive, so not really a problem. I've not seen them.
I have scuba diving.
How close did you get?
I tried to keep a good distance, put it that way.
Got it. For the land snakes, two of the most venomous are the 100 pacer and the many-banded crate.
The
many-banded crate.
Crate. Black and white. Call them the umbrella snake by some people, yeah?
Yeah, Taiwanese call it the umbrella snake. Very venomous. Thankfully, it's a really good-natured snake, not aggressive.
A very good-natured, highly venomous snake.
Which some Taiwanese don't realize because I think at school they get taught that venomous snakes have a triangular head, but the many-banded crate doesn't have a triangular head.
And some snakes with triangular heads are non-venomous.
Right.
So I'm looking at this Taipei Times article from 2023 about snakes. It says, according to Taiwan's Center for Disease Control, the CDC, more than 1,000 people in Taiwan are bitten by venomous snakes every year. That seems like a lot of people, no?
Yeah, more than 1,000 bite victims every year. I guess it's a surprise because deaths are very, very rare, thanks in large part to Taiwan's good network of hospitals with anti-venom.
So this article continues, quote, the CDC is the nation's sole producer of snake anti-venom, and more than 3,700 vials are provided to healthcare facilities each year, of which about 2,800 are administered yearly.
2,800 vials. Okay, so that's doses for snakebite treatment.
And almost all of those, like 2,500, are for bites from just two species of snakes. The Taiwan habu, or is that right? Habu?
Yeah, habu, yeah.
And the green bamboo viper. About 400 vials for the cobra and many banded crate or crite. And then only a couple, it says here, for the 100 pacer snake.
When it comes to fatalities, there are surprisingly few. I don't have numbers for fatalities, but fewer than one a year, I think. There was one study looking at the years 2002 to 2005, and there were 3,862 snake bites, but only 3 deaths. The highest frequency of bites was, in order, the bamboo viper and the Taiwan habu.
And how do people get bitten? Well, it would be mostly rural areas, often farmers. Over half, though, of snake bites involve people playing around with a snake. So they're like poking it or trying to kill it.
Yeah.
Which kind of, you're asking for trouble, put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
The rest are accidents, the snake just biting as a defense after getting walked on in a field somewhere.
Snakes can't eat humans, so they're not hunting us, are they? And even in defense, they're reluctant to use their venom. Venom is not easy to produce. Why waste it on non-prey animals? So generally, they warn before biting.
Like a cobra raising its head and making that hissing noise. Sometimes there's no time for warning. You step on a snake and... So, it might be a good time here to give some do's and don'ts if you happen to get bitten by a snake.
Okay, most snakes are non-venomous, but you should assume that any bite is from a venomous snake. So take it seriously, even if it doesn't hurt. Obviously, try to identify the snake, make a mental note of its appearance, take a picture of it if possible, and you should remove accessories from limbs.
Take off your wedding ring so in case your hand swells up, it doesn't kill your finger.
That's right. Apply a bandage above the wound to slow the spread of venom, but not so tightly that it restricts blood flow too much. And basically just seek medical attention immediately.
Yeah. Sometimes in movies, you see people cutting an X into the wound and trying to suck venom out. That's a definite no-no.
Correct. Do not cut the bite area. Do not suck out venom. Do not apply ice.
And do not drink alcohol.
Spoil sport.
No, I'm serious. Alcohol, from what I understand, increases the spread of the poison. So, no, John. Sorry.
Mm.
And don't put your life in the hands of homemade medicine or faith healing or something like that. It seems obvious enough, but it needs to be
Yeah.
said because from 2019, there was a Taipei Times article that had the title, Doctors Warn Against Home Remedies for Snake Bites. And the article talked about a couple of cases of people going with traditional stuff. And no.
One case was from the Veterans General Hospital in Taichung. Shout out to Taichung, where a 50-year-old farmer sought treatment after being bitten by a cobra. But before the hospital, he had tried some home-style first aid.
Yeah. So this farmer gets bitten by a cobra. He kills the snake, takes it home, and eats it with a herbal liquor. He's eating the snake and drinking the alcohol to fight fire with fire, poison with poison. Makes complete sense. This is just logic. 10 hours later, he's in great pain. He's at the hospital, various complications. He ends up staying in the hospital for 2 months.
2 months. Good grief. Well, it reminds me of a visit to a private zoo in Tainan called the King of Snakes. The zoo named after the King of Snakes, a former crocodile farmer turned cobra farmer, and he was running a small reptile zoo, which has since closed down. The day I visited, he was recovering from a cobra bite he'd received the week before. He was nursing a swollen finger. It was his 9th bite, and instead of taking any serum, he said he just drank a special herbal wine concoction based on an old Chinese recipe.
Well, he's lucky to be alive.
Yep. Although sometimes with cobras and other snakes, you have a strike, you have a bite, but it might not release the venom. Like I said, venom is quite a precious thing. They don't really want to waste it.
Okay, so I'm going to say yes. This King of Snakes guy, there was snake food on offer at his place?
Good guess, yes. Had a small restaurant, and I tried some snake dishes, fried snake skin, snake meat, snake soup, but I passed on the medicinal snake gall wine and snake blood wine and the snake penis and testicle herbal super supplement liquor.
Ah, you coward. So, snake, also let me guess, it tastes like chicken.
Chicken with a little bit of a fishy taste.
Okay. So, the real king of snakes in Taiwan has got to be the 100 pacer because it's the most famous, it's beautiful, very striking design of triangles, and an important animal for several indigenous peoples, especially the Paiwan in southern Taiwan.
From memory, a sub-tribe of the Paiwan, they have a legend that in ancient times, some bamboo on Dawu Mountain split open, snakes came forth, and in time the snakes transformed into human beings. So they're really into the 100 pacer snake. It's the subject of many of their stories. They have clothing and artwork adorned with the colors and triangular patterns of this beautiful animal.
Yeah, I have wall hangings made by indigenous people that I've had for 25 years or so with some snake patterns on them. It's also the guardian spirit of Paiwan indigenous people living around southern Taiwan's Dawu Mountain. So you go up there, you'll find striking images of this snake on various carvings, clothing, pots, other items. At least they are sensible enough not to do what a certain denomination of Christians in America does, where they have church services and play with venomous snakes. You've heard of these guys?
Yes.
That's just tempting the Lord or fate or whatever.
Darwin Award material.
Mm-hmm.
So heading further down from Mount Dawu in Pengdong to the southernmost point of the island, Kending, the first lighthouse keeper there, George Taylor, an Englishman, he was there in the 1870s. He reported that there were professional suckers who treated snake bites and were usually successful, except in cases involving the deadly 100 pacer.
Okay, sorry, but professional suckers is quite a job title. I'd love to have that on a name card. But okay, very serious. Here's the quote from the lighthouse keeper, George Taylor. Snake wounds are treated by professional suckers, whose services are usually successful. However, the bite of the pulong snake is so often fatal, despite their attempts to suck out the poison, that an extraordinary expedient is resorted to in order to support their efforts. When a man is bitten by a bunong snake, the vicinity is searched, and the first specimen found is tied up near the sufferer. If the man dies, as is nearly always the case, the snake is roasted to death. If, however, the suction removes the poison and the man recovers, the snake is released, end quote.
Seems fair enough.
That's very odd. Like, the snake is like,
Yeah.
what could it do as it's tied up next to the
Yeah.
suffering person?
Yeah. Things got a bit more scientific during the Japanese period. There was research on snakes and anti-venoms.
There's an often repeated story that many venomous snakes were part of this research center, and they were released by the Japanese as some sort of revenge at the end of the Second World War in 1945. I've heard so many Westerners tell me this tale. Part of the story goes that it wasn't just local species, but those from Southeast Asia and the Pacific, snakes Japanese soldiers might encounter, and then they've all gone all over the island, and now there's snakes on a plane and train everywhere.
Snake version of the COVID lab in Wuhan. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there's no evidence for this at all. No evidence, just a story.
Okay, so going forward 2 decades after the war to a Free China Review magazine article from 1964, we can see this government media outlet celebrating a reduction in snakebite fatalities.
Quote, when the island was returned to China in 1945, deaths from snakebite each year totaled around 50. By 1963, snakebite deaths had been reduced to 2. The sharp reduction is attributable to education, improved and more easily available antitoxins, wider use of protective clothing, and, to some extent, the Chinese appetite for snake meat.
Yeah, they're eating the snakes. Which is also my suggestion for the iguana problem we have right now. Just eat them.
Okay. That brings back a terrible memory from the jungles of Burma. Probably the worst thing I've ever eaten.
Iguana?
Well, I'm thinking third worst thing I've ever eaten. Yeah, iguana. Stinky beast. Yeah. Anyway, where were we? Eating the snakes. Okay. Yeah. Killing venomous snakes was encouraged. There was a bounty on snakes.
Yeah, this article gives an example. It says, quote, the Yangmingshan administration pays 5 NT, 12.5 US cents, for each poisonous snake killed in the mountain park near Taipei.
Yeah, that's a pet peeve of mine. Poisonous snakes. No, shouldn't describe snakes as poisonous unless you're referring to eating them. Venomous. That's what we want, not poisonous.
Good. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
And encouraging people to hunt snakes. Bad for the environment, and it's not that good for the people doing the hunting, is it?
Yeah, the article says both of the snake bite deaths in 1963 were of snake hunters who were bitten while hunting snakes. And each of them had their own antidote, but obviously it didn't work. The kinds of venom differ, right? So you've got to get the right anti-venom for the right poison. Each one's different.
Yeah. Medical authorities said both the men could have been saved if they had reached hospital in time.
The article says that, quote, Taiwan snake catchers usually have their own antitoxins. The formulae are secret, but the efficacy is doubtful.
And they're hunting snakes not just for government bounties, but for use as food and medicine. The gall of the snake is especially valued. It is usually eaten raw.
Okay, before we eat something raw, we should know what it is. What is gall?
Is that a small organ, a bag of digestive juices near the liver?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Gallbladder, gallstones, gall, that thing. It just doesn't sound like something you should be eating.
Yeah, the article says, quote, the customer goes to a snake shop found in back streets of Taiwan cities, chooses a snake, and waits for it to be killed. He puts the still warm, dark green gall in a small cup of Gaoliang wine and downs it at a gulp. The gall is said to be good for the eye.
Okay, I have seen a snake killed in front of me at a traditional market, or at a tourist market, more accurately.
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
Your hometown of Jiayi gets a mention here, too. It says the Baishi powder, 100 snake powder of the Taiwan Venomous Snakes Research Laboratory of Jiayi is advertised as having the power to cure, okay, this is great. It can cure nervousness, backache, fatigue, malnutrition, and sexual impotency. This is perfect. So you've got most of the world covered here. All the tired workers, their backaches, malnutrition, all those poor countries, nervousness, and then, of course, sexual impotency.
Well, okay, one of the more interesting lines in that 1963 article is about snakes not being hunted by men, but living alongside us. Remember, Taiwan has a lot of non-venomous species. They kill by constriction, wrapping their bodies around the victim. Generally, rat snakes. Yeah, they help keep down the rat and mice population.
They do. Reading from the article again, quote, Taiwan also has cases of domestic coexistence between snakes and man. An example is a 7-foot non-venomous snake that lived in the attic of a cottage in Yangmingshan. The snake cleared the house of rats at a time when neighboring houses were infested by them. Seldom seen, the snake slept daytimes and hunted rats, and went for water by night.
The closest a snake has got to my house is on the outside window of my kitchen.
I remember in Kaohsiung, way back in the early 90s, out in Kaohsiung, every blue moon, we would find some snake in our property. Usually it was like the length of your forearm, just a small, nothing significant. Anyway, my daughter is obsessed with snakes. For her 10th birthday a couple years back, we got a snake company that comes and wraps snakes around your kids. Non-venomous snakes, for the record.
Oh.
She loves them. I know several kids who love them. I find them creepy as...
Okay, Indiana Jones, enough snake talk.
Yes.
But before we go, we should say that snakes are protected these days, so don't go hunting them. Don't accidentally freeze them to death in your refrigerator.
Nope.
And getting back to Chinese New Year.
Yeah, as we slither into this year, may you be blessed with health, wealth, and happiness. Gongxi Ni, Nien Kwai. I'm Eryk Michael Smith.
Happy New Year, everyone. I'm John Ross. Bye.